Guys,
What up? What up? Big Week 16 championship.
The biggest week.
I know, man. It's the championship. Everything that hopefully you've been doing has been building up to this point to get these get your championships. I know, man. It's so exciting.
We've got a great slate of games today. I mean, when you're talking about
good matchups
from fantasy to playoffs to everything, it's just going to be just a big day. You know, there's a lot of questions this week. You know, you're going to have to make sure, hit us up, your sit starts, latest injury reports. We're going to try to fill you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've made it to the finals. You know, as we've let you guys know throughout the season, we've had 5 main teams we've been going with in the Yahoo leagues. And so far we're in the finals of 4 of them.
Yeah, I did 4. That's not bad. And then in the 5th one, we're playing, you know, still for that 3rd place gauge. So definitely was in the finals, 5 of 5 into the semis. So not bad there. So yeah, we're really looking to push, see as many championships as we can get. And I like our slot in a lot of teams. I think we're projected to win almost every one. So pretty much.
So yeah, that's for those of you who started Melvin Gordon last night, like we did, we were relying on him in a few games. You know, we were talking about it earlier. He didn't quite, you know,
it wasn't a Dookie performance.
It wasn't Dookie, but it wasn't what you needed. It wasn't leaving you feeling comfortable.
Right,
you know, especially if you're looking at him and, you know, they're projecting him, I think, 20 points on Yahoo.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you factor that into your projections and, you know, you're looking at what you got, it hurts. Anytime somebody puts up, you know, 6 points less than what they're giving you or what they think they are, it's tough, you know. And for us, we had some guys that we had picked up like Jamal Williams, McGuire, and it's like, do you start any of these guys, you know, over them, or do you not? So we ended up rolling with Gordon, and it was a tough call. So, you know, that may come back and haunt us a little bit today. But at the same time, can't cry about 14 too much.
Right. I mean, I think we've got enough layers and players everywhere else that will kind of overcome any shortcomings he may have had. But you mentioned 2 guys right off the bat that we picked up, Elijah McGuire and Jamal Williams for Green Bay. You know, we know Aaron Jones has been put on the IR. Those are 2 guys I think that we both like to have good days today.
Definitely. I mean, you know, it's still early, guys. You got time to get in your DFS lineups, hit us with your questions, but there are just a few studs out there this week for very cheap who I think are going to produce. You know, they're going to get the targets. Yeah, and like I said, running back, you look at Elijah McGuire, what he's been able to do the past few weeks. You know, he's going to be that #1 guy, and that Green Bay defense doesn't scare me too much.
Yeah.
If you've been paying attention to any fantasy shows, you notice that Darnold, Anderson, McGuire stack's becoming pretty popular, and I think it's a good one to go with today. I don't know how well Darnold's going to do, but Anderson's going to get those targets. You know, I like him over some of these even Jarvis Landry type guys, you know, who are so iffy. You know, like I said, give me that #1. You know, a lot of people are hyping Sterling Shepard today. I like Robbie Anderson over Sterling Shepard. You know, I think you're getting a great value there, DraftKings or FanDuel, for Robbie Anderson and what he's going to bring you today. He's going to get 9, 10 targets. What can he do with them?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, I mean, I think, you know, if you got your ear to the fantasy football heartbeat, then you know, Robbie Anderson is a guy you probably heard brought up a lot today. But I agree with you 100%. I think he merits that consideration, especially for the value. I think, you know, he's right around 59, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
On FanDuel. So yeah, definitely somebody you can look to blow up there. Really, that was 3 Jets we named, you know, between Darnold, Robbie Anderson, and Elijah McGuire. So definitely an interesting and intriguing matchup with the Packers there.
Yeah, I think they're working on the other side of the ball. If you're paying attention to our Twitter today, I'm huge on Davante Adams. I think he's going to have a great week. You know, he's likely to get 13 targets again. You know, and when you're looking at the Jets, Davante Adams is one of those guys who's matchup proof. You know, we talk about it. You know, and there's some guys on the fence. Kenny Golladay kind of showed us a little bit last week.
Definitely.
Is he becoming matchup proof? You know, he's been so disappointing, but he's shown that, you know, it may have nothing to do with who he's going against because he's just a monster.
Well, definitely. I know we're rolling with him today. I think we might have been a little scared, but after last week, he's got to be that high-end, you know, WR2 that we think he could be. So
yeah, so I like Davante Adams a lot this week. He's going to get those targets. Rodgers is going to be up this week as well. He's down in a lot of price points, so I really don't know, you know, why he's so down. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers hasn't had the best year, but I think he's a great value for what you're getting. No Fitz or Howard from Miami today. Would you play Dede over Robbie Anderson? I really wouldn't.
I don't think I would either.
You look at Dede, Miami isn't the best matchup, and what they've got going on. And not that Green Bay's a slouch in the secondary, but they've got a lot of those rookies. And Robbie Anderson's explosive. He brings you that type of just playmaker athletic ability that I really do like. So I think that he can make the most of his targets. And I do like Robbie Anderson this week. Like I said, a little bit of a hot take. Dede's going to cost you more in a lot of those leagues. But when it's week 16, I like to ride the guy who's trending upward. And I think that's Anderson.
And I think when you look at Dede, I mean, he's a player. I think you pretty much know. I don't think he's going to pop off for 25. I think Anderson might. I do think Dede, has a pretty good floor of around 10, 12 points in a full point PPR format. But no, I think Robbie Anderson is the much more explosive, and the targets. He's just, Darnold, he's really locked into him since he's come back. So, great question. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them even kind of have that rapport a little bit when he was playing, but Anderson's he's solid. I think that you should go with him today for sure.
Yeah,
and plus that quarterback play in Jacksonville, you just never know. I mean, Dede may see 8 targets.
Yeah.
3 of those may be uncatchable. If he drops one, all of a sudden you're looking at a frustrating day. And so, not that Darnold's Peyton Manning,
not by any means,
but
I know what you mean.
I like what he's going to be able to do with Robbie Anderson today. So,
good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
What about what are some other matchups that are fantasy tasty this week? What do we got?
You look at Dallas. When you talk about a few other stacks that we like.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott. Let a lot of people down last week, including us. Thought he was going to have a pretty good day. I think he bounces back this week. And for another DFS pick who was completely irrelevant last week, I think Michael Gallup comes back this week. We've seen the Cowboys rookie, very athletic. He's very good. Amari Cooper's going to draw most of that, top coverage you can assume. And although Cole Beasley's kind of been that security blanket, I think that Gallup's really going to come out today. And you look at Jarwin as well, having 7 targets the past 2 games. I think Jarwin's going for around 3,900 maybe on like FanDuel, DraftKings, things like that. He's very cheap, and he's going to get those targets today. They're at home. The Cowboys are one of those teams that play better at home. Dak plays a lot better at home. That defense plays better at home. I look for Zeke, Dak, Gallup, Jarwin, those guys to eat today.
Yeah, I like Jarwin. Especially with the value, he's practically free when you look at his FanDuel points compared to some of these top guys. And I expect him to maybe roll with a touchdown there and return that value. Another segue, from Jarwin is a guy Sprinkle there in Washington. So we know Jordan Reed's out. We know Vernon Davis is out. And just a few targets last week. I think he had 3 targets, but he caught all 3 of them. He had all those receptions and including a touchdown. So I think Sprinkle is definitely dirt cheap as well. So maybe somebody to look at this week.
Yeah, good options. I think Evan Ingram we saw last week. Sterling Shepard, the talk was, he's going to get, he's going to be the main benefactor in OBJ being out. We saw that really that's just going to be more targets for Saquon, more targets for Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
And so I like Evan Ingram a lot this week as well. You look at some of the top tight ends, Kelsey there at Seattle. No, they're not the Legion of Boom anymore, but it's tough to go in there and play against that 12th man and in their defense. And Bobby Wagner's having a hell of a year.
Yeah.
There's some good linebackers there in Seattle, and so when you look at Kelsey, look at Gronk, look at some of these guys at the top of the list, I don't think it's worth it this week. I start about Ebron in most of my lineups. I think he'll have a pretty good day. But Ebron, like we talked about, Jarwin. I think Kittle's kind of going to have a little bit of a down day. I think they're going up against Chicago.
And definitely, it's just not worth the money at the top of the list, paying that premium.
So there's some great values this week. Keep it going down the running back train. We mentioned McGuire. Jamal Williams going to see the bulk of the touches there. Damian Williams has been a hot topic the past day. Now that Spencer Ware is out, Damian Williams just scares me a little bit. He's got the talent. He looked good last week, especially catching the ball out of the backfield. But there's Darren Williams. There's other guys that they have in there. And Kansas City isn't afraid to make the most out of everything around them. So I think you were telling me Damian had 27 carries last week?
No, 27 points.
27 points. Yeah, 27 points last week, which is great. So he's shown that when he gets that volume, he's good. But once again,
do you really want to? You want to take that? You want to take that risk here when you got it all on the line?
Yeah. So if I'm looking between Damian Williams, Jamal Williams is going to be the workhorse this week, playing at the Jets.
Yeah, I like Jamal Williams as well.
A little bit better.
He's been playing really. When you look back through Aaron Jones, that RB1 for Green Bay has been producing high level numbers here, especially down the playoff stretch. So yeah, Jamal Williams, somebody that's pretty cheap today as well.
Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack. I'm a big Mack day today. Big Mac. I didn't even mean to go there, but we did. So
Chubb this week. I know he's getting a lot of love. At the same time, last week Oakland was supposed to tear up that Cincinnati defense. They didn't. I don't know what I expect from Chubb. When Duke Johnson gets those passes, and if Browns get up early, I think that they'll chug along with Chubb. He's that first down, second down back, but I don't know how much I like his upside.
I think it's a lot of context. We're always preaching context here. Yeah. He's going against the number one defense allowing points to running backs in the Bengals. So I think that, jumps out to a lot of people. So but I'm with you. I don't think he's going to be the RB1 overall of the week just because he's got that great matchup. For a lot of points, he said Duke Johnson getting a little bit more. So just temper your expectations with Chubb. Certainly, he's going to be a good back. We'd love to hear some of your sit-start over. But as far as daily, I would keep your expectations pretty tempered.
He's been hyped up a lot, and he costs a little bit more this week. So, when you look at other guys like Mack, Jamal Williams, McGuire that cost less, I don't know if
those are definitely three players over Chubb that I would take.
And then when you're looking at quarterbacks this week, there's a few great values as well. We talked about Dak, talked about Darnold. I don't know how high I am on Darnold, although he doesn't have to do that much, to do well. And then you look at Foles.
Definitely.
Foles is sitting on 6,000. We've seen what happens with Foles. I like that Foles-Jeffrey stack this week. Ertz is a great player, but to kind of talk about tight ends and why we're down on the top-tier tight ends this week, Foles just doesn't target Ertz. He loves Alshon Jeffrey. Last week, Jeffrey got the targets. Every time Foles and Jeffrey are in the game, that's his man. So I like Jeffrey a lot this week.
Yeah, Jeffrey's definitely high, I think, on both of our wide receiver PPR or DFS today.
Because when you look at the top of the wide receiver DFS, there's a lot of question marks. Hopkins battling injury. Julio battling injury. These are guys that aren't going to play, if there's a little nick or something like that happens. The Falcons, I love him, and I hope Julio does well, but, there's no real reason to make him, push through if second quarter.
If anything pops up or flares up.
And so Antonio Brown, Juju's battling injury. They're going against the
Saints. Excited, though.
It's a good thing. But Marcus Lattimore, is sitting over there for the Saints, one of the better defensive backs in the league, and one of those guys are going to see him, one of the true shutdown corners. So when you look at some of those top tier, Thielen hasn't been killing it lately.
Yeah,
and then which one's going to happen, him or Diggs? I'm avoiding them both in DFS play this week. It's a crapshoot, for who's going to do anything. Although I do like Dalvin Cook. So for those wide receivers, I think there's some good values there as well. We talked about Robbie Anderson. And just some of these guys are gonna Jeffrey.
I think he's 6,300 right now, which is well behind those top guys. So.
Gallup, I think, is a sneaky play there, DFS. Although I do think Cooper's gonna have a good day. Amari there in Dallas as well.
Yeah. Cooper's just been really coming alive. I think he dipped down a little bit last week, but expected to be right back in the 20s range. Full point PPR. I like Cooper.
Ridley could see a bump this week. With Julio's kind of injuries, even if he is out there maybe for kind of a decoy.
Yeah.
Julio does seem to battle pretty well through injuries and play well, but, if he is kind of a decoy, Ridley could be a benefactor. As well with Hooper, he's a pretty cheap tight end. So that Falcons game as well is a pretty intriguing match on one side of the ball. On the other side of the ball, you could say, okay, Christian McCaffrey, I trust him.
Yeah.
But you trust anybody after that.
Even with McCaffrey, the fact that Newton's not in there, I think he's going to take a bump, and he's been one of the most sure things in the fantasy playoffs. So I like McCaffrey to have a good day, don't get me wrong, but I do think with Newton being out, his running game taken away, the RPOs just isn't going to be as dangerous anymore.
Yeah.
But after that, since Newton is out, obviously I don't like their quarterback. I don't like any of the tight ends. The receivers were already iffy for me. So no, I think McCaffrey you can play, but anybody else after that's pretty risky.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's it's a hard week. Everybody thought Curtis Samuel, may produce a little bit last week.
He
Big letdown there.
Yeah.
A lot of people expect him to kind of bounce back this week, but I don't think you can trust him, especially in any league.
Yeah.
If you want to be cute on some DFS plays, then not a bad way to differentiate yourself, but
right.
Still, I don't like anybody.
No, I wouldn't either. And if I was even going to look that way, I would look DJ Moore probably before I look Samuel. So.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Stay away.
There, that Vikings-Lions game, we talked a little bit about that wide receiver situation. Although I don't know which one's going to do well, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be a pretty good quarterback pick this week. He's kind of that middle-tier quarterback range on DFS, and I like it. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a pretty good week, be able to produce.
Yeah, Cook I like as well.
And on the other side of the ball with the Lions, you mentioned Galladay, what he was able to do last week. We know Theo Riddick's going to be the one catching those passes coming out of there, but Zach Zenner, somebody we
came alive a little bit.
Came alive a little bit. We saw him, I think, get 10 carries. He only had about 40 yards, but he's that goal line back. He's that big beast, and LeGarrette Blount's out with that calf injury.
Yeah.
So if they can get down there in the red zone, Zenner's going to see those. So if you're looking for a sneaky DFS pick today, Zenner's someone who's dirt cheap, and he could get you a touchdown. He's going to get those goal line carries there in Detroit.
Yeah, we watched some of that game last week, and I was surprised to see how much they were using him. I was like, wow, okay, so maybe,
And
maybe
Minnesota's run defense is a little bit softer than people may have thought. And so, I think Zenner could come alive today.
Yeah, I do agree with you about Thielen and Diggs. I honestly think that there's just probably room for one to eat.
Yeah.
Or they both go mediocre, 8 to 11 points. So it'll be interesting.
Moving on, that Texans-Eagles game. We talked about the Foles-Jeffrey split this week and how we love it. When it comes to the Texans, I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a great week.
Yeah, I like Deshaun to go big today as well.
Yeah. When you look at his fantasy points per game when he's playing, he's right up there with everybody else. And I think that Eagles secondary is pretty soft. They've had a lot of injuries this year, even though they're coming alive a little bit and pressuring the quarterback. But Deshaun's mobile enough to be able to, I think, get out of those sticky situations. So even if that Eagles pass defense does come alive, I think we'll see Deshaun thrive, get outside the pocket, and find Nuke and some of those dudes. So I think Deshaun's going to have a pretty good day there.
After Hopkins' big day last week, do you think he's certainly got the potential to go have monster numbers again this week? Do you think he's there?
I think he does. Hopkins is like I said, my injury concern with them and them trying to keep him healthy, but Houston's right there in the hunt. They're going to be playing to win today.
Exactly.
So I think best case scenario, we can hope this is a close game and they keep Hopkins in it. And I think that it could very well turn into a shootout. We know that old Nick Foles, he likes to gunsling.
Philip Lindsay, we got a question. Philip Lindsay or Dalvin Cook? That one is tough because I am back on the Lindsay train. Yeah. However, what up?
Hey!
I personally would lean towards Dalvin Cook. I think he hasn't really fluctuated, and I think Minnesota's got a new, confidence in running the ball with him.
Yeah.
It is hard to pick against Lindsay. I just lean Cook. What are your thoughts?
I think I'm going to go Lindsay in this one. That matchup with Oakland's a little more forgiving than the matchup we're seeing. Dalvin Cook, and what he's doing today. It scares me a little bit. Latavius Murray does get some of those red zone snaps, and so that's my biggest fear. Dalvin Cook, if it's full PPR. Dalvin Cook is going to get all those receptions, out of the Minnesota backfield. But if it's non-PPR and I'm just touchdown reliant, I'm going to break my TV when Latavius Murray gets that carry at the 2 and runs in for the touchdown.
Yeah.
And so Philip Lindsay's shown he's that main dude going against Oakland. It's a Monday night primetime game. We know that affects things a little bit. And so I do like Lindsay this week.
Definitely. While you mentioned, Cook, I do think Murray, I wouldn't be, it's going to suck if he does shark a touchdown. But at the same time, Cook has had a touchdown in, I think, 3 straight. So not too worried about it. I think they are going to rely on him. But Lindsay, great call. It's a good debate to have if you have to choose between those two.
Definitely, yeah. They're both going to do well. We were hyping up Cook earlier. He's in a lot of my DFS lineups today. So, like I said, I do like both of them. If it comes to DFS, then I do like the value, Cook's giving you and everything.
But no, Lindsay's going to be a beast. And, you saw 2 weeks ago, it was
the Raiders,
game over.
We saw what Mixon did against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Those versatile quick backs are going to be able to rip them apart. And so I think that Yeah, I think we'll see a better day than usual for the Raiders offense as well come there Monday night. So if you are one of those people hurting at tight end, looking to play Jared Cook, I think this is a week. Jordy Nelson, some of these guys. I think that Raiders at home, that Broncos defense isn't too good. They do have that pass rush, but with Chris Harris going out and some of those injuries, I think that that pass defense will suffer a little bit.
I agree.
Thank you so much for the question. We appreciate it. That's a good one. Like I said, those guys are pretty much right around.
I was about to say,
it's just splitting hairs and
Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson. I think we'd probably both go Watson.
I like Watson.
I like Watson this week. Mayfield is a kind of a good DFS kind of look because he's going to be cheaper. And he has been playing well, but at the end of the day, Watson, I think, has done it more consistently over a longer period of time, and he's just got a great position there to blow up today.
Yeah, and everyone's talking about Chubb in that matchup. What's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
I think that they may utilize that a little bit. And if Chubb ends up having a big day, that's just taking off of Baker.
Right.
Has played a little bit, and so whether you look at Deshaun Watson, I'm not afraid with Lamar Miller or Alfred Blue running away with the game to where Deshaun Watson isn't as involved.
And when you got a player like Nuke, like you said, like we said earlier, I mean, that's a better weapon than anything Baker Mayfield's got.
Yeah. And so I like Deshaun Watson this week. I think he'll give you some of those rushing yards, and I think that I like that matchup a little bit better.
Yeah, good question though, because Baker is sneaking up there.
He's catching fire a little bit,
and there are several quarterbacks I'd probably take Baker over, but not Watson, not this week.
I like the Browns' defense today, going up against Driscoll, but at the same time, Mixon is a beast. He had those troubles coming out of college. Otherwise, he would have been drafted a lot higher than he was. And it showed how talented he was getting drafted as high as he did, even with all those troubles he had in college. And so I think Mixon's a monster. We've seen a lot of these injuries, for the Bengals, a wideout. And so today, John Ross, can he be that number one guy? I don't think he can.
I don't think he could be the number one, but do I think that he will have at least one catch over 40 yards, possibly two? Probably. Maybe. I think he's that type of guy. If he could sneak in a touchdown, all of a sudden now you're looking at a sneaky DFS play. Yeah. But ultimately, that's optimism because I'm with you. I don't think he's going to do it today. Maybe with Dalton, you might like it a little more, but with Driscoll, no. John Ross out, I wouldn't take him.
And so I'm leaning on Mixon a lot. I don't think Mixon's going to give you a stud day just because they're going to be stacking against him a little bit. But still, he's showing that he can make moves.
He's going to get the usage as well
and make it happen. So. So in that game, who do you like better? Who's going to score more points, Chubb or Mixon?
Mixon,
I agree.
Yeah. That's close, though. Well, I don't know if it's that close. I like Mixon today.
Yeah, so that Giants-Colts game is up next here.
That's a good one, I feel like, offensively. You got Andrew Luck, Mack, we already mentioned, Ebron on the one side, T.Y. Hilton, a stud. He is good to go today. I know we're playing him in one of our lineups. So a lot of offense on the Colts that I like. For the Giants, OBJ's still out, so Sterling Shepard's getting a lot of talk. Evan Ingram as well. Saquon, hopefully he'll be bouncing back for you. He's been, if you have him, he's been your stud all year. Last week, not so good, under 10 points, but hopefully he'll bounce back for you this week.
Saquon's been big run dependent all year long. People are shocked he's having these 13 rushes for 40 yards game, or different things like that, and it's like, no, He's been that way all year. Every game he breaks one or two long runs, and it puts the stats way out of proportion. And so if he can't go break that 40, 50, 60-yard run, then, he's going to give you a stinker of a
Which
game.
is what we saw last week.
And so it's Saquon's a little tough. He's a hell of an athlete. Gifted, one of the better running backs, rookie running backs we've seen come into the league and his pure ability. But I want to see him grow beyond his athleticism and that big run reliance. Gain some of that patience that Zeke has. That Le'Veon Bell has. Some of these guys we see who are able to really read the game at a higher level. And so that's where I see hopefully Saquon being able to make that jump to next year, because if he can develop some of that patience and then utilize his athleticism to hit those holes once you're using that patience, then he's going to be a monster.
I agree.
But
he's got a lot to look forward to.
Saquon's scary. I'm staying away from him in DFS. He's too expensive. I like Zeke better.
Yeah, I like Zeke better.
And so, but obviously if I have him in my league, I'm playing him. We are playing him.
Right.
In your league. And so,
But yeah, what about those Colts though? Who do you think has? I mean, do you think Ebron can find a bounce back game? I think he was practically non-existent last week after being, one of the top 5 tight ends over the season.
I think he will. That Giants pass defense is pretty good. They've got some good cornerbacks, and I think that if there is a game for Ebron to be a threat, this is it. He's always a threat in what he can do. Running a seam up the middle with Ebron, there's not many linebackers who can keep up with him. And so this is a game where I see Ebron coming back to life, and being a good touchdown target. So I like him really in all formats this week, whether DFS, non-PPR, PPR. I think Ebron's gonna give it to you.
Nice.
You look at the Bills and the Patriots. We have the number 1 defense going against Bill Belichick, or rookie versus the Patriots.
A lot of interesting things
going on.
A lot to
consider there.
Yeah.
Gordon's gone. Is it going to matter? Is Edelman going to catch 7? And what's going to happen this game?
Well, Edelman, I think, is maybe the only person I would even consider. I don't like anybody in this backfield anymore. A once promising, Sony Michel, James White backfield has turned into, too much.
Devlin and Burkhead's back.
Yeah,
and
so
James White and Sony.
Absolutely. The Patriots' running game isn't what I thought it was. As you mentioned, Gordon's out, so I think Edelman maybe will continue to kind of be right in the middle, right where you expect him to be.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to give you those Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins numbers, but he'll be pretty solid. But outside of that, I don't like any of the Patriots. On the Bills, obviously Robert Foster has been playing well, and now, 3 games in a row now? So I do think he's kind of an interesting look if you like him. I would probably, we said Robbie Anderson, Alshon Jeffrey. We said a few players earlier we like a little bit better, but I do think for the Bills he's an option.
Yeah, and Isaiah McKenzie is somebody we had talked about. Has been coming to life there for the Bills. He's dangerous. There's a lot of concern with injuries there for the Bills at running back this week.
Mm-hmm.
There was talk that McCoy may be healthy or Ivory may be healthy or these things, but we've seen McKenzie be involved in the run game and also have his fair share of targets and receptions. So
McKenzie and Foster. I think we both like those guys over Zay Jones, and then obviously nobody in the backfields for those games. So kind of a dud matchup. It is a divisional matchup, so maybe that'll bring some life to it, but we'll just see.
It'll be interesting. I think everybody's a little down on Josh Allen this week, but the Patriots' defense just isn't what they were. They can't get to the quarterback. They can't put pressure on there. And so we've seen Allen has a cannon, and he has a few deep threats. And, Zay Jones, we talked about his drops before, but between him, Foster, McKenzie, and then just his running ability, I wouldn't be surprised if Allen had, 25-point day.
In the top 10? Does he finish as a top 10 QB?
Yeah. I think he does against the Patriots. So they're not the Patriots of yesteryear.
Yeah. No, they're definitely not. That
fat dude with the beard is gone. And it makes a difference, it seems.
Patricia, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. Patty. Patty.
Jaguars, Dolphins, talked a little bit about that. I don't really like anyone for the Dolphins.
Yeah, the running backs with Gore going down, it might bait you into, liking Kenyon Drake or even this Balaj, Kellen Balaj. But yeah, I don't, in week 16, championship week, or even just DFS, and that's not somewhere I want to put my faith.
No, Balaj obviously with the one big breakout run last week for however many yards, and that was 90% of his yardage. And Kenyon Drake, Gase just doesn't use him regardless of who's playing, who's not playing.
Alfred Blue or Michael Gallup?
I like Gallup this week. We talked about it
Gallup
a little bit. I know how he was down last week. At the same time, I think that he's going to be bouncing back a little bit. And so you look at that. The weakness of the Eagles is going to be their secondary. I look for Watson to have a great day. Hopefully a few passing touchdowns. That may take away, a little bit from Alfred Blue, anything he'd be able to snake in around the goal line. So I think Gallup is gonna bounce back in a big way today.
Good analysis.
Thank
right
you for
there.
The question.
Yeah, definitely. But I like Gallup as well, and we had talked about him a little bit earlier, and the things that we think Dak can do this game. So good question there.
Definitely, it's going to be a tough one. We've seen Blue come through before, but I just don't think it's tough. That interior Eagles line, and I just think that it's not the best matchup for either Lamar Miller or Blue this week. I wouldn't be excited about either one of them.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, no problem. Thank you for your question.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it. And,
hopefully you guys are going to go out and win these titles.
Yeah.
So we got another one that we kind of mentioned, Damian Williams or Jamal Williams. I think we both like them both, but I think we favor Jamal Williams a little bit. Why don't you tell us why?
I favor Jamal Williams. I think he's got the better matchup. When it comes to Damian playing there at Seattle, like we were talking about earlier, Seattle isn't what they used to be, but they're still, very good defense at home. And it makes me a little bit nervous about not only he had the majority of the work last week, but he's still kind of running a split timeshare situation on the road against a good defense. I know you say, okay, Green Bay's on the road against the Jets, but it's the Jets. And right. Jamal Williams is going to be the workhorse, and so that's where I'd rather go with two guys I think are about equally talented. I look for who has the better opportunity, and I think that is Jamal Williams.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Like, with two similar players like that, the fact that Damian Williams does have Darren Williams to kind of contend with, not to mention Kelsey Hill, all these guys.
Yep.
Jamal Williams, that RB1 position for Green Bay has looked really solid these last few weeks. So
I think you can trust it. And on the other side of the ball,
thank you. She said go drop us a follow, so we would definitely appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Like I said, reach out to us. Two Shoe Sports on Twitter, Instagram. We'll be here. The end of the football season is winding down, but at the same time, NBA is here. Football will be back here before you know it. But we'll be coming at you, pretty much all year long, especially through the winter here.
You're living down here in SEC country. We're going to have some college football playoff talk for you guys. So
we'll be keeping up with that and keeping you in the loop. So that kind of covers it as far as our Dolphins-Jags game preview. I don't like Fournette this week. They even talked about they may not play him in the second half. When you look at some of these guys like Gurley, Fournette, these are guys that are not going to risk playing.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gurley sits out the second half. Same with Fournette. That being said, you don't want to start T.J. Yeldon just because it's so cloudy there in Jacksonville. Not the biggest fan of D.D. Westbrook either. I think this is going to be just an ugly fantasy game.
I agree. Get ready for a 9-6 affair. Although I don't even like their kickers that much. So who we got next? Bears-Niners?
Bears-Niners. I think Trubisky's going to be a top 10 quarterback this week.
Somebody we hadn't talked about yet, but I know we both liked going in as far as DFS plays, being really good value for the upside that he's got in his matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're never exactly sure who's going to be the running back stud there. Cohen, Jordan Howard. Cohen's going to get those receptions. Obviously, he's the better PPR look. Howard's probably your better non-PPR look.
Yeah, I agree. I think Howard's still going to get plenty of work.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about any of their wide receivers. Allen Robinson may come alive a little bit this week.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, Robinson has just been so frustrating because he's going to get the looks. He's going to get 9 targets.
Yeah.
And he's still probably not going to do anything with them. So that's just frustrating.
It is. There on the other side, Pettis, we've seen him pretty much be consistent. How he's targeted and how he's used. Kyle Shanahan's great at scheming players open. And it seems like he's one of those matchup-proof wide receivers just because of the coach. And I'm starting to think that Kyle Shanahan is really one of the better, play callers in the league. You look at the dip Atlanta took after their Super Bowl run. They were on a record pace and what they're able to do. Kyle Shanahan leaves as the OC. They fall apart. No one's been the same since. Julio went on his TD drought.
Yeah.
And you look at, what he's able to do with this Nick Mullins, a rookie quarterback out of nowhere. I don't even know where he went to school. And then Pettis and some of these guys,
Kittle.
I've been impressed with it. And it seems like whether it's Breda or Wilson, he's able to scheme people open. And so I think that San Francisco is typically a good option, but just not this week against the Bears.
Yeah, agreed. That Bears
all that being said,
when you go against the Bears, they have a real world impact on those games that you have to take into account.
Khalil Mack is going to eat Mullins' lunch
all day,
probably 2.5 times, maybe 3 times.
And
you saw the butt sack last week.
I did see that. Amazing.
We've seen the butt fumble before.
Now we've got the
butt sack.
It was very impressive when you think about it.
And so this Rams-Cardinals game.
Rams-Cardinals. So the Rams, one of the biggest questions about them is Gurley. And apparently he is cleared to play, but the question is how much is he going to play? And for your number 1 overall pick, if you guys have him and, you drafted him, you stuck with him, and now just to hear this for your championship week, it's a real shot to the gut. But it's a real concern as well. So yeah, I think Gurley's a guy I would try to look elsewhere. But it's really, just like you said, a trap matchup.
Yeah, and so I think it's ugly. We talked about, I made a tweet about 2 weeks ago, Jared Goff, the difference between the quarterback he is at home and the difference between the quarterback he is on the road. He's on the road this week against Arizona, who last time I checked still has Patrick Peterson.
Yep.
And a pretty good pass defense. And so I don't like their odds this week. They're on the road in Arizona. I think it's going to be an ugly fantasy game as well.
I agree.
For Arizona, there's really no one you can trust. I don't like David Johnson this week. I almost like Larry Fitzgerald in some DFS form.
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
If you're really stretching and you like guys at the top and he fits in, then I would take Larry Fitzgerald, but it's not somebody I would seek out like a Robbie Anderson.
Because Larry, he might catch you 7 passes, for one of those things. And so I don't think they're going to be too focused on trying to shut Larry Fitzgerald down.
Right.
And so I think it may open the door a little bit for him to have a decently productive day, but. When it comes to who's Patrick Peterson going to cover, Brandon Cooks or Robert Woods, we don't know. I don't want to take that gamble.
I'm down on both of those receivers this week.
Yeah. And so it's just a tough game there for the Rams. I don't like Goff. He's going to finish outside the top 10. Guys like Trubisky, guys like Watson.
Josh Allen.
I think Dak Prescott will do better than Jared Goff this week. So, hot takes. Next up, Steelers, Saints. Can Taquan Smith come alive? He's at home. Can he do anything this week?
Traquan Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, Traquan Smith. I just didn't hear what you said. They just activated Ted Ginn, and I don't know. I don't like Smith in this matchup, unfortunately. I think it's just one of those cases where people have been big on him for a few weeks now, and he still really hasn't done too much.
Yeah.
So plus with the emergence of Ginn, I don't know. I love Michael Thomas though. I think Michael Thomas has the potential to be a top 3 finish today at the wide receiver spot. I think Breeze is going to not hear a lot of Breeze. He's going to get a lot of breezes, and I think he's going to bounce back and be back to his elite form though. So I do like some players on that New Orleans offense. Ingram I would stay away from, and Kamara's probably going to do as expected.
I don't know. I'm nervous about that Saints offense. There's just so many mouths to feed. It's one of those situations that, Michael Thomas should have a great week. It seems like every week I think he's going to have a great week. He's got that elite talent. He just doesn't have that elite consistency.
Yeah.
And that's what really bothers me. He doesn't give you that, that Julio Jones consistency.
It was that Dallas game. Dallas game destroyed New Orleans offense.
It did. I
Pretty
think
much.
It broke their spirit.
It did.
Like it really hurt them. When you look at the Steelers on that side of the ball, Jalen Samuels is going to beast out today, probably.
Yeah.
Juju with the injury question, I was pretty high on Vance McDonald earlier through the week. He came alive a little bit last week, made some good plays. Showed that I think he's a viable option and he's not just a body out there.
Yeah.
He's somebody who can make a few plays for you, and so. I don't know who has the better day, AB or Juju. And like I said earlier, it almost depends on who Lattimore's covering.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was about me. I was feeling pretty tepid on Juju until I saw that Instagram post he made this morning where he was like, "Guys, I'm fired up to play, and I'm not talking about Week 16. I'm talking about the fantasy football championship." So he wants to go out there.
For the real fans.
Yeah, he wants to go out there and perform. So that kind of scares me a little bit. But like you said, Lattimore, where's he going to cover? I think I like AB to have a little bit better of a game today, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was flip-flop, to be honest.
Yeah, AB is leading the league in touchdowns. It doesn't seem like he's had that big of a year. Maybe because we don't own him really on any teams. We stay away from him, so that's why it doesn't seem like he's had that big of a year.
Right.
Because obviously we recognize he's at the top and all these things, but
it's been quiet.
It's been a little quiet at least. But I think that's a pretty good fantasy game. I don't think Ingram's that bad of calling DFS this week. I could see them needing him around the goal line a little bit. Maybe coming to life. We've seen that he's capable. They still have to give him the ball. So, Baldwin or Evans, Kittles. I'm probably going Evans this week. When you look at Baldwin, I don't like Kittles this week. Against Chicago, I know they have limited options there in San Francisco for the Niners, but I don't really like Kittles. Baldwin is Russell Wilson's favorite target. We saw what he was able to do last week when he was healthy. A lot of people don't like the matchup with Mike Evans, going against Byron Jones today. But I think he's matchup proof, and they're going to throw the ball to him. And so even though Deshaun Jackson's back, there's Chris Godwin, there's Humphreys. Mike Evans probably.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I agree with you about Kittle. I think he's going to be tempered expectations for him. But yeah, Baldwin is just a concern. I don't know. That one is tough, but I would lean Evans just on talent alone. I mean, Evans coming in is a beast. He had a few catches last week that I didn't think were going to be completed. So I would probably go Evans there. But that one's pretty close. Texans or Browns?
I like the Browns defense today.
Yeah.
I think Tricky Nick is going to surprise you a little bit. That Eagles team, there's just a different... we've seen it with the NFC East before. We felt this with the Giants before, and I kind of have this feeling with the Eagles this year. I think the Eagles are going to finish really strong. And even though I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a good day, I called it earlier that it's going to be a shootout. And so I think that the Browns defense is going to be the better option.
Yeah, the Browns is probably my number one sleeper DFS defense this week. They got a good matchup there. They're playing better. They're trending up. The Bengals are trending down. So
I like the Cowboys defense today.
Yeah, Cowboys for sure.
They've got a good matchup.
They're actually a little less expensive than the Browns as well.
Right? I know a lot of people are thinking that. It was just tough. You look at Chargers and all the talk's been about, is this finally the year for Phillip Rivers? Everybody's trying to give him his roses right now because they thought that this may be the year. But that Ravens defense is legit, and this is what the Ravens do that kill you. And I'm afraid this is what's going to happen to Kansas City on tonight.
Speaking of Kansas City, real quick, Austin Hooper or Travis Kelce at the tight end spot? Yeah, Kelce. That's not really too much of a. While you may mention things while Kelce's matchup isn't the greatest with Bobby Wagner and things like that. Ultimately, Kelce is the number one, far and away, tight end in fantasy football. So I think you got to go him there.
Yeah, and I'm just getting ready to make a point about why the Chiefs' offense will be down. But still, Kelce just doesn't remember that. But we saw with the Ravens, they just run the ball. It's not so much their defense; it's that rushing attack to where they're going to hold on to the ball. Every drive is capable of going for 8 minutes. And then if they kick a field goal and put it out, so you're only going to get 6-8 possessions a game.
Right,
that's the way that these guys are running it. And we've seen the Seattle rushing attack come alive with Carson and Wilson. And I think that's what's going to happen to Kansas City. And so, even though I don't think Mahomes will have a bad day, as far as throwing a lot of interceptions,
just limited opportunities.
Like it's just limited opportunities, and that's kind of why I'm down on Damian Williams a little bit this week as well, and put Jamal Williams over him. It's just going to be less snaps, less plays.
We got
Ingram or Coleman.
Yeah. Mark Ingram or Tevin Coleman.
I'd have to go Coleman. I think that. Yeah, I'd have to go Coleman.
It's tough. You already heard me say I'm a little down on Ingram. I'm also down on Coleman, but I do think Coleman has the better situation there with Atlanta. So I would go Tevin Coleman this week over Mark Ingram, and I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah. I like Coleman over. I mean, that Steelers defense is pretty tough. Ingram may get a few goal line carries, but best case scenario this week, you may get 10 points out of Ingram, whereas Coleman, especially in a PPR format, Coleman may at least catch you a few balls and come alive. I look for a good day from this Falcons offense.
Yeah, coming off a great week last week too for Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, so I think you go Coleman. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it.
You go Coleman over Ingram. I'm still not too crazy about Coleman, but I do think he's the best.
Alshon Jeffrey definitely, and then probably Edelman. I think.
Yeah, I agree. Alshon Jeffrey. I personally would go Tyreek Hill. I'm not as down as you are on the Seattle defense holding the Chiefs in check. But that one is tough. Like we said, definitely Jeffrey. Edelman, I think Edelman's probably going to be the higher floor of the two. Yeah. So if you're just trying to get through or you need somebody that you feel pretty safe about, I would go Jeffrey and Edelman. If you're looking to maybe, really, really make an impact and you need to go big, Tyreek Hill and Jeffrey.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think Tyreek Hill has the potential to go score 2 touchdowns, in any moment's notice, but I think that Edelman...
He could disappear as well.
This could be the type of game, especially with Gordon gone, to where, Gronk isn't Gronk anymore, even with all the target sharing there in New England, I think that Edelman's good for 8 catches.
Yeah.
And so I'll just hope that he gets one of those in the end zone. He may not, but even if I can get 8 for, 80 out of them,
that's the value.
That's the value. And so I think that Jeffrey, though, we've seen Foles loves Jeffrey.
Yeah, Foles loves
targets. And so I'm kind of a big fan of those guys who get the targets. And
so, Jeffrey for sure. I think we both think Jeffrey's good.
I think it's Jeffrey, PPR or non-PPR. If it's non-PPR, I'm leaning Tyreek Hill. He has the better touchdown potential.
Yeah.
But if it's PPR, I think Edelman's going to have more receptions and get you more yards.
That's perfect. That's a great assessment.
It
is 1 o'clock. I know we've got 4 teams into the finals that we're about to go win championships. So thank y'all. It's been a great season. I mean, next week I guess we'll be back. We'll do a DFS special. It'll be fun. So join us next week. Maybe we'll be a little bit looser because we'll have won 4 titles to come back and brag about. So
a little bit of money.
Hopefully a little bit of money. Yeah. We do that every week. So, awesome, guys. Thanks for joining us. Follow Two Shoe Sports on all platforms. And
be on the lookout through the day. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know how you do.
Yeah, we're real active on Twitter. We respond pretty quick. So if you want to just have some fun, have a conversation, tell us, who's doing awesome for you, or darn, who's killing you, let us know. But we're signing off, guys. Two Shoe Sports.